I can tell you from firsthand, it can be done. It will be effective.
So I think there are people who've never even heard of it that are going to see this and be impressed, and I think that builds enthusiasm.
This is the defining moment and the last opportunity to get our republic right.
We need a solution as big as the problem.
Wow, that's not only next month, it looks like it's next week, August 2 to 4. So it is coming right up. And I remember the first simulation was just a few years back, and it was a blockbuster thing. I was not able to be there, but they recorded it, and I got to watch the videos. And so I hope that'll happen again this time, that those who are not able to be there at Colonial Williamsburg will be able to watch it later, live or later on. Dale, what do you know about that?
I just want to stress that the simulation is put on by the COS Foundation.
Okay.
We've been instructed to stress that point.
Okay, and that's a different organization. We are COS Action.
Right.
And that's the foundation.
Right. This is COS Foundation. So.
Okay, now that we've satisfied all the attorneys. Okay, well, the title of this roundtable is DEI Winners and Losers. And so we've plumbed the depths a little bit about what it is and why COS cares about it and what's right with it and what's wrong with it. But now let's take a look at the winners and losers. First of all, who are the DEI winners? As DEI is being practiced in our culture today, who's winning? Who wants to take a crack at that? Cheryl, always. This is your favorite topic, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say favorite, but certainly I've spent a lot of time researching it. To me, the winners are the elites, the people that are trying to solidify their power. I just don't see anybody else winning in this situation except for them. So
okay, that's a good answer. Got some other answers, Susan?
I think that those people who would not have been offered a position or offered a place in college, but for the either color of their skin or the gender that they are, or the whatever is the selected need of that college or institution, I think those are the winners. They did not put forth the effort that it took to get to that point, and they are let in. Got a freebie. Okay.
Another classification of winners. Gary or Dale, you have any ideas?
Yeah, I would like to mention that DEI has kind of given rise, or maybe it was around before, but this idea of intersectionality, so that if you are at the intersection of multiple groups and you're transgender, wow, you've got a lot going for you. Which means, everybody that isn't at the intersection of several of these favored groups is really a loser in that situation. And we see some people on, for example, the cabinet of our government, and you really kind of wonder, well, were they picked just because of their, intersectionality with multiple groups that are currently being favored by government?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. We can have our suspicions. We may never know the real answer, but some things surely look suspicious. Mm-hmm. Something smells in Denmark. Okay, Dale?
Yeah, kind of to tag on to what Susan was saying, I think there are people that will benefit from this that shouldn't have, but will. And, I guess you got to call them winners.
Yeah. And how about all the people who got jobs as diversity officers in the government, in schools, in universities and businesses? They got jobs, and I understand they're pretty good paying jobs. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm the diversity officer. And I think thinking deeply here, I think these might be short-term winners. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, have they really won anything, or have they lost? Time will tell. History is the great equalizer. 100 years from now, when they write the history of these times, what will they say?
Well, certainly the definition of winner and loser would be in question. Since we're changing definitions anyway. I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so we've identified a few of the winners. Let's go to the flip side of this one. Who are the DEI losers? Who loses out when we do DEI? And I think Susan wants to talk first.
Well, it could be all of us. I have a personal relationship with someone who is a pilot. He has several thousand hours of flight time. He applied for a very prestigious job, got it. And right behind him came someone who got on because of equality. And this person had way less than 1,000 hours, had failed the check ride, had embellished experience and education. But that person checked the right boxes and is a safety hazard in the cockpit. Not too long ago, Amazon Atlas Air had a crash that NTSB determined was pilot error, and it came down to their hiring practices.
Oh my. Okay, see, that's not even funny. That's tragic.
No, that is tragic. And when you say loss, I mean loss of life. It is an extreme situation, but there are losses.
But it's where you're going to go in society if you hire on the basis of DEI rather than qualifications.
You're not going to hire the best in the industry, and that should be your main focus on whatever is that class of person that you need. Yep. That's all you care about. That how good they are at flying, at teaching, at nursing, at being a physician, a rocket scientist. You don't want to hire somebody in those huge positions that is checking a box and perhaps has not put in that blood, sweat, and tears and has that quickness of thought that those people have earned the position should have. Yeah.
And there's no amount of learning that can take the place of thousands of hours of experience on the job. Because that, the best learning is experiential learning, on the job learning. Yeah.
James Lindsay blames academia, and he says they have made the color of your skin the most important factor of your hire.
Wow.
And of your acceptance.
Okay, Dale, I saw your hand a moment ago.
Well, I was just going to tag on to what Susan was saying. So the losers are us. Mm-hmm. The losers are the general public who depends upon these individuals, these qualified individuals, to be qualified to do their jobs. And when they're not, we're the ones that suffer.
Yep.
We're the losers.
Yep.
That would be my assessment as well. I mean, it's society as a whole. I have seen different school corporations lowering their hiring expectations or the qualifications in the people that they're hiring, whereas some people are teaching now that wouldn't be if they use the same standard. Well, part of it is because they're having a hard time getting people.
Yeah.
For different reasons. I'm sure we could expound on that, but we're not getting the quality of teachers that we were once accustomed to. And a lot of regular teachers are, teachers that have been there forever are being discouraged and leaving the profession because they're seeing how little I have someone that I'm related to that happened to. Mm-hmm. They're hiring in these other people with lower qualifications and basically snubbing that person that went through college and all the education to become a teacher and get a license. So
wow. Okay, Dale.
Yeah, what really concerns me is it to what extent is this happening in our military? And we know
already happened in the military.
Yeah, we not only are the rank and file, but the leaders of our military But we know that I think all the branches, maybe not all of them, but I know the Army cannot meet their recruitment quotas.
Yeah.
So what are you going to see? You're probably going to see a loosening of the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I mean, that reflects in the readiness of our military.
It does. And so freedom is the loser.
Yeah.
And we if this goes unchecked, if it continues to its logical end, we could lose the republic. We could lose the Constitution. We could lose our protections. I don't think that's going to happen. I think patriots are going to stand up and say, wait just a minute. For the viewer's interest, Susan was having a little internet trouble before we started, and I see that it has come back, and I'm sure she'll do her best to try to join us again. But I want to tell you a story a long time ago, more than half of my lifetime ago, when I was entering my dream job. I got a 2-year appointment. I was a temporary instructor for 2 years only. And after that 2 years, then there, Susan's back. Hi, we missed you.
My internet has been crazy.
It was so lonely without you. But
Good.
but when those 2 years were up, the institution where I was employed, I think rightly, they wanted a more diverse faculty because we were all white and we were all but one male. And so they wanted to hire a woman or a person of color. But my job, I continued to work there, but under a temporary appointment, not under a tenure track appointment where I could get promotions and raises and things like that and have faculty status. That was put on hold for a year or two while they were looking for a qualified woman or a qualified person of color. And so I felt this for a couple of years. If I weren't a white male, I'd be a shoo-in for this job. But because of my skin color and my gender, I'm not a shoo-in. Well, long story short, the qualified women and the qualified people of color that they were interested in were not interested in coming for this kind of salary. And so, and I liked the job, and I wasn't too worried about the salary. So all those folks just said, nope, not gonna interview for that job. And they were stuck with me. and that career lasted 32 years. And I was very happy in that career. But early on, that second, third, fourth year, I was just in limbo. I just wondered, where am I going to be? What am I doing here? And so I was a short-term loser, falling to the diversity god, all those years ago. But I'm long since over it, and any hurt feelings I had are forgotten. I don't even remember them. Well, any more losers before we move on?
Well, isn't it kind of obvious, though, that in an effort to be inclusive, you inevitably exclude somebody?
That's the irony of it. Yes. Ken?
Yep. I'm going to tag along on Cheryl's comment and throw up what Diane says. It follows right up in there. Basically glorifies division, as many have said already, and it leads to desires for segregation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Susan agrees with that. Okay.
Also, how can you have rights that then take away someone else's rights?
Yeah. So let's move on to my next question, which is about backlash. What kind of backlash has there been against DEI? What have we seen? What have we experienced? What have some of us maybe even done in order to speak out against this thing? Who's first? Be careful when you raise that hand, Cheryl. I might call on you. Are you first? Go ahead.
No, not on this one.
Okay.
Okay,
Susan,
so let me take a stab at that.
Do it.
So I think that in the school system, I think that parents are are lashing out. I think that parents don't get between a mama bear and her baby. And I really think that parents had the first reaction to you can't eliminate my child. My child needs all the opportunities that is allowed of him or her. And if there is a school that is not allowing that child in because they are not checking the right box, I think you're going to hear more. Parents are mostly in the grade schools now, but I think as that gets to be more of an acceptance thing into colleges that make a difference to that person's entire life, I think you're going to see more people uprising.
I think you're right. And I think that the major big time backlash from parents has been all post-COVID. Because with remote learning, it wasn't really learning, but it was called remote learning. For the first time, parents saw what was going down in the classroom.
Right.
And they did not approve of what they saw.
Right. And they're not passing. Those children are not passing the grade. And you're spending valuable time in the classroom teaching about things that shouldn't even have a place in the classroom.
Yeah. And those teachers who love teaching and who love children are really frustrated over the curriculum that they're required to teach. And as somebody said, many of them have been, and I think will continue to leave the profession. Okay, other kinds of backlash?
John, I want
Gary?
to mention, Susan mentioned schools, and really, the homeschool movement has grown rapidly, particularly in the last few years, as Susan mentioned. But I think this has been one of the factors that has pushed people toward homeschooling for 20 years or more, because DEI sorts of ideas were some of the things being promoted in school that parents could see. It's not really education related. Schools should be teaching fundamental skills and knowledge, math, reading, science, those kinds of things. And when you get away from that, people say, this is a mistake, and I'm going to pull my kids out and teach them myself.
Yeah. Yep. We've seen that. Dale.
How about, would you consider the recent Supreme Court decision with regard to race and college entrance and could be considered some backlash to?
Oh, I think so. I forget who sued, but Harvard got sued, and the University of North Carolina got sued, and it worked its way through the system, all the way to the Supreme Court, and they said you can't do that.
I think it was an Asian group that sued.
Oh yeah, Asians, because they have been discriminated against.
Yes.
Too many Asians coming to Harvard. We can't have that.
Yeah.
Can you? And I didn't know the history of it, but back decades ago, Harvard didn't want Jewish students coming. That was a revelation to me. And so, here it is, the oldest university on American soil, and they've got this kind of bigotry. I'll use the B word, bigotry against Jews, against Asian students. My word. And I'm pretty sure that they've got a cadre of pretty smart lawyers who are going to find ways around the Supreme Court ruling. They'll, instead of skin color, they'll go with your zip code or something like that. And more lawsuits will be filed, and in a few more years, it'll be back at the Supreme Court. I've been around long enough to see how this system works. So Dale, that's a good example. That's major backlash when it gets all the way to the top court. Cheryl, did you have a thought on this that you've?
No, I think pretty much everybody's covered it. I feel like I've said everything.
Okay, there's been some backlash.
Yeah.
Ken, our viewers have been fairly quiet. We've only had 3 or 4 comments from the internet, but you got anything, or should we move on?
No, I think we should probably move on.
Okay, here's the money question. What can we do about it?
I think the most important thing is education. We've got to spend time finding out what these things mean, because they're not going to tell us. I say they, whoever is in charge of DEI, they're not going to share what their underlying motive is. And the more you study this, the more you will find that what they're trying to do is not good. And we need to be aware of what's going on. We've got to be involved. We've got to get involved in local government, because the word stakeholder comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of terms that are used that sound clinical or sound innocent, and they're really not. There's some other terms too that, like if you squawk about CRT in the schools, oh, well, we don't do that here. Well, they just changed CRT into something else.
Yeah.
So you've got to just be engaged all the time.
And anybody in K through 12 who says we don't teach CRT here is telling the truth. They don't teach CRT. That really is a graduate school course that's taught in law schools and other places like that. But what the K through 12 schools, not all of them, but many of them, are doing is implementing CRT philosophy in the way they teach.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the SEL. That's where that comes in.
SEL. Yeah. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, it sounds real pretty. Yeah.
When I first heard of social emotional learning, I thought, well, now that's good. Kids need some of that, you know.
No, they
but when
don't.
I found out what it is, I said, not so good.
No, it's not good.
Not so good. What else might we do about DEI? Susan?
Well, I know that Scandinavia supposedly has achieved the most gender neutral and equality in genders. And psychologists that have studied that have said that it's not even desirable, that people will fall out into their own groups naturally and let them. With the most freedom in Scandinavia, people still fall out into different groups. So perhaps nursing 20-1 is women. It appeals more to women. Engineering appeals more to men. And they have not manufactured that at all and tried to check the boxes. So I think that perhaps we can learn from those people who see that there is a natural flow of things when it's left to a person's own ability.
Okay, very good. And Dale?
Yeah, I'd like to just recommend we hold a convention of states.
Yes.
And we propose amendments that would bring more and more control back to the state level, so that we can have greater tools at combating this type of thing. So.
Yep.
Read my mind, Dale. That's exactly what I was going to say.
That would be my recommendation. It seems to always come to that point, doesn't it?
It does. Well, name one thing the government's gotten involved in and controlled and that they do well.
Nothing.
World War II, they did pretty well. We won.
And they're supposed to. That's what they're supposed to do.
But we haven't done much good militarily since then, have we? We lost in Vietnam. We lost in Afghanistan.
Companies and such.
Say what?
I'm speaking in terms of society as a whole and
I know.
Companies and that kind of thing.
I know. I mean, you these are the people who brought you the post office. These are the people,
yeah, we see how that's going.
Amtrak. Yeah. Okay. Gary, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think we have to sell the benefits of a society in which people treat each other with mutual respect based on achievement. It was mentioned earlier about Asian students. I have some close friends who grew up in India, and one of the things in their culture is it wasn't good, and I didn't mean anything. If you got an A in your school class, you were expected to be number one. And so if you got 30 kids whose sole goal is to be number one, you have people who really work hard. And so, their culture has achieved a lot academically. And it's not that they're necessarily smarter than other people, but in that culture, you really work hard. And we can respect people who work hard, whether they achieve things, academically, athletically, whatever it may be, or we see it in people's professions. People work hard for achievement, and we all respect that kind of achievement. And that's the kind of society we want based on people's hard work. The other thing is that people in power, they want to divide us, I believe. And DEI is a great way to divide people and keep people fighting each other instead of recognizing that we need to limit the power of government and bring the control back to the local and state level.
Yes.
Bingo. That ties it all up in a very neat bow. Thank you. And I want to thank the panel for your participation. We'll see you next month. Right now, I want to play a short video from last month where I was interviewing our state director, Dale Tipton. Audience about how they can become involved in Convention of States.
You bet. There's an effort that we've had ongoing for a while where we're communicating through links that deal with recruitment. As an organization, we have a lot of positions to fill, and positions have to be filled by volunteers. And if we're going to become citizen activists, which we really have to do to make a change in our government, people need to take positive steps to do things so that we can turn this ship of government around. And in Indiana, for example, we have 100 House districts, and we appoint what we call a district captain in each one of those districts. And in this particular link, this is a direct appeal for people to volunteer to become district captains, whereby they would be tasked with being the liaison between the people within that district and their elected representatives, their senator and their local representative. And then also they are responsible for spreading the word about Convention of States through various ideas, such as town halls or parade events or any kind of thing like that, where we can, mix in with the public, block walking, any number of things. And this allows direct involvement at a fairly high level where you're really your own manager and you will have all the assistance that you need, but the tools are presented there for you so that you can become an advocate for Convention of States and make a difference. And the other thing that's pointed out here, more towards the top of the page, is we are a past state. In February of 2016, Indiana signed the resolution. So as we try to recruit people, oftentimes we hear, well, you guys passed the resolution. It's been done a long time ago. What else is there to do? And there's a list here on this page of all of the different things, or many of the different things that we can do as individuals to support both the ongoing effort in Indiana and then how we can also assist neighboring states that maybe haven't passed the resolution yet. And so this is kind of the latest thing we've got. And this is ultimately the easiest thing we've done because the application is literally at the bottom of the page that you can fill out to become a district captain. So it's a one-click deal and you're there. And we're hoping some people will sign up to join the COS revolution.
Okay, Indiana needs you, my friend, and I hope you'll do what Director Tipton was asking you to do, and that is to step up and take action. There is a place for you in Indiana Convention of States. Well, that brings us to the end of this month's roundtable. Before I say goodbye, I want to give you our email address. If you have any questions at all about Convention of States, you can email them to us at this address, raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. That's raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next Monday, July 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern for our next COS Indiana Live. And our next roundtable will be on the fourth Monday of August. That will be August the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And to close us out, here's a message from our national COS president, Mark Meckler. It's called The Day I'll Quit Fighting.
I struggle to empathize with people who would give up. It doesn't make sense to me. Sam Adams said, for those of you who prefer safety and security over liberty, over the animating fight for liberty, I hope that you enjoy licking the hands that feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you are our countrymen. Like, do you understand that your kids and you are sentencing your kids and your grandkids and your friends' kids and your neighbors' kids to a lifetime of slavery and servitude, literally, of fear, of living in the darkness, but never, ever, never, never, never give up. George Washington lost the majority of his battles that he fought in the American Revolution. If you read his writings, if you read the letters where he was writing to Congress asking for money and troops, he was saying, we're losing. I don't have the troops I need. I don't have the supplies I need. Did he quit? What about the guys on the beach at Normandy? Like, what did they do? Did they just quit? Oh, there's, a lot of guys are dying around me. It's really bad. It looks really dismal. Those cliffs are huge. Machine gun fire raining down on us. And it's too hard. We should just quit. Thank God those people didn't quit. If they had, where would we be? I get discouraged for sure. And I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.